Fargo, the new virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can. In the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Terms and conditions apply. Your mobile carrier's availability and message and data rates may apply. Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
Hi, friend. Today we're going to have a Carline Quickie where we talk about one of the most asked about things that I've experienced so far in my journey and with sharing what I do. Does loose skin really matter? Does it really matter? We're going to talk about it. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast, where each week I will be discussing all things fasting and how it can become the most valuable tool in your personal toolkit so that you can live a long, healthy, and meaningful life. I'm your host, Vicki Sharon, and thank you for joining me.
First off, big hug to you. Thank you. Thank you for listening today. I appreciate you. I want to address one of the most asked questions that I get, and probably one of the reasons why I get so much just notoriety from folks. And as I've said before, and you've probably seen as well, I don't do it to show off. I don't do it to brag. I do it because I know you can do this too. This obsession that our culture has with looking to the way that we look to an unrealistic body image. I've talked about it in a previous episode where I go really deep into bodily image ideals and all that. But I want to revisit this topic, and I want to question and challenge you to question what you think, what your beliefs are, and why they are what they are. If you are in the process of shedding, remember, not losing, shedding weight with fasting, maybe you've reached your goal, or maybe you're really close to your goal, or maybe you're totally new or haven't quite yet started and waiting for that just little push to start. And maybe you have some apprehensions about all this, especially with the amount of weight that you have to shed, and what the after effects are going to look like when you do reach your goal. And how what you think, believe, feel is told by others, seen in society, marketing, ads, how all that noise shouldn't hold a candle to how you see and feel about yourself. I've said this in many other episodes as well, but the way that we go through and evolve and change in this process with adopting fasting as a lifestyle tool, and please, I don't ever want to hear anybody say fasting is a diet. It is not a diet. It's a lifestyle tool. As you can hear, I've said it many times before, and I'm just going to keep repeating it as long and as many times as I need to. This lifestyle tool will help to bring, as I've said in previous episodes, bring those things that we've been having as hardships in our mind to pacify with unhealthy behaviors, unhealthy eating, all that stuff, how that compounds into the way that we see ourselves. And maybe that builds into this fear that we have where you don't feel the acceptance where you are now at your physical body weight, but then you're also afraid to shed this incredible amount of weight as well. Really, honestly, no matter the amount of weight. I've talked and heard from people that have this deep fear and apprehension about really fully investing themselves into the process with this lifestyle because of a preconceived fear about what's going to be the result with loose skin. And they have deep fears that they may have to get skin removal surgery. And to me, that's one of the biggest driving and motivating factors that keeps me going, keeps me pushing forward, because as I've seen and documented. And side note, I hope you all are documenting, journaling, even if it's just for you. Don't feel like you have to show it to everybody if you feel uncomfortable at it. Document, take pictures, videos, because future you is going to want to see all this stuff. I'm telling you, okay? When you look and see yourself, if you have a fear of what future self is going to look like, that unfamiliarity with that new version of you, if you're not meeting expectations of, what you portrayed as, I'm going to, maybe you put it out there as a challenge. Maybe you're challenging with friends, family, or whatever, and you have this, really public goal where you said, I'm going to shed this amount of weight and I want to get healthy. And because you have this goal in your mind to lose this amount of weight, shed this amount of weight, where you're afraid that once you reach that point, it's going to require additional let's admit it, scary factors that are very dangerous to have to undergo. This is serious, serious stuff with skin surgery. And I talk about this very candidly because I know my situation is unique, and please take it with a grain of salt. Do your research as much as you need to. But truthfully, when I came into this process and into this lifestyle, this even more so was for me when I realized that with shedding this weight, the need for skin removal surgery was not something I necessarily was going to have to experience on this. And that honestly, y'all, if that doesn't excite you even more, it should. Please let that excite you. Please let that just the thought of autophagy and what the body can do with these imbalances in weight and our excess weight that we carry, and how our body can just innately tap and use that fuel that's already there to burn and, thereby get to a smaller bodily size. But to back up and to step out from that thought is, as I've said before too, you have to realize at some point in your journey, you definitely will realize at some point in this journey that this is more, so much more than about just the vanity with being a smaller size. You're going to realize how much more strong mentally, physically, emotionally you become the further along you get. And yes, of course, it's physiologically much healthier for you to be at a smaller size, but mentally, emotionally, and as I've said before too, the way that you look at yourself when you look in the mirror. I've heard so many people, and my heart hurts for these people. And if that's you, I'm giving you a big hug right now. Looking at themselves in the mirror. If you look at yourselves in the mirror, or can't look at yourself in the mirror because of the amount of shame, disgust, or unhappiness that you feel for yourself, it does not have to be that way. You do not have to measure up to anybody else's standards, ideals, expectations besides your own. And your expectations should be yours. It should be something that you are excited about, that you know that you can attain, that you can get to. This is something that we all have to realize at some point on this journey, and it will light a fire under your rumpus. I'm telling you, it absolutely will fire you up and motivate you. And maybe some days feel better than others. I know that was for me. There were some days where, as I've said very candidly before in my journey and things that I've shared, I have always, ever since I can remember, since very early on, had very large legs. And that was my discomfort. I, for a very long time, did not wear shorts because of how embarrassed and disgusted I was with my legs. And other people didn't get it. Other people won't get what you're experiencing, what your thoughts and feelings are about your body. But I'm going to challenge you to identify what those factors are and how they got there in the first place. Did somebody say that to you in your youth? Did somebody make fun of you? Did you see an ad or something that gave you this feeling of disgust with yourself. Because if that's the case, I want you to realize that through this process in fixing and repairing our eating habits and thereby your weight, that mental, emotional recalibration will absolutely happen. It will absolutely happen. And it is the most beautiful and empowering thing on this journey that you will experience. You're going to realize that your happiness grows, and not just from the decreasing amount of weight. Of course, that's going to make you happy. Of course. And it should, but it shouldn't be the only factor. You should find those moments in celebration when you're able to say no to a triggering moment where you would give in, where you celebrate those non-scale victories of, you avoided binging and giving into an unhealthy eating spree when old you would have easily just said, give me whatever that is, I'm going to inhale it and just drown my sorrows in whatever food that is. You're going to realize that that doesn't have to be always the option. I want you to fully be present. I'm going to challenge you to be present. Be present every single moment as you can through this process. That's your power. That's your power. You're going to become so strong and tenacious and full of grit and fire with fasting as this tool in your back pocket as you get further and further along. And all these little components combined is going to make you a force to be reckoned with. You're going to realize through this process, as you shed that weight, the excess skin that may or may not, honestly, you could become the next poster child for autophagy too. Whoever you are, I will happily, let's get a freaking group photo, y'all. Like, let's get an autophagy squad. Can we do that? Let's make that a thing. Let's do the autophagy squad. Because honestly, skin surgery removal does not have to be a thing. It does not have to be a thing. It does not have to be a cultural acceptance, especially, as we see in many folks that have to that feel like the only way they can successfully shed weight is through serious surgery, and to not let the body heal instead. And that is some dangerous stuff. My personal experience with my aversion towards any elective surgery, if you haven't heard this before, I'll give you a quick kind of synopsis. But back when I was a teenager, I found out that my mother had breast implants. And I found out that she had had them implanted January of 2000. So many years ago, 22 years ago. And I think it was around late summer that I found out that she had the procedure done. And then in September, it just came out of nowhere. And I was still a teenager in high school at that point, very unhealthy, at a very unhealthy weight, already eating my emotions, being told that your mother's sick, but we don't know why. Okay. The next day, I get pulled out of school and we go to a hospital many miles away in Massachusetts. At the time, I'd lived in southern New Hampshire. And to see my mother completely unresponsive, her body was entirely swollen from her organs shutting down one at a time. She was hooked up to ICU and life support. She did not look like herself at all. My mother, I always thought, was such a beautiful woman that she didn't need any of this stuff. But as she felt, she needed to have this augmentation done in order to feel beautiful, in order to feel adequate. Why? Why did she need that? There are some things I'll never understand about that, but my aversion towards unnecessary, dangerous, and elective surgery stems from losing my mom at a very young age and realizing her very low self-worth and how that influenced her decision heavily to feel the need to get these breast implants. And it's scary, like any unnecessary surgery. Granted, of course we need like emergency triage care. I'm not opposed to any of that. But I'm talking about the skip, let's get there quick. I don't want to face my demons, hard work. And I may face some, from scrutiny from this episode, but honestly, I don't care. Those hard feelings and thoughts, if you're looking for weight loss as a quick fix, honestly, from the data I've seen, the people that I've spoken to, I've consulted with, who have had the surgery and have gained it back or have had complications from it. Y'all, this is scary. This is scary. I don't want that for any of you. But this restoration and realization has got to come from within. What is making you feel like you're inadequate? What is giving you this low sense of self-worth? I want to challenge you, as I've said maybe before in a few episodes, if you've heard it before, I'm going to tell you to do my mirror exercise. I want you to look in the mirror at yourself 2 ways. I want you first to see yourself as you do. And I want you to give yourself a huge, big hug. If you want to imagine me giving you a hug, cool. That's awesome. I encourage that. I'm giving you one right now. Do it right now. Deep breath. And then I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and see yourself from the point of view from someone who loves you unconditionally, whether a family member, a child, maybe even someone that's not even alive anymore. See yourself the way that they do or did. And then give yourself another big, big hug. And then, if you want to go even further, I want you to see yourself in the mirror and say and identify 3 things that you love about your appearance, that you love, that brings you happiness, contentment, that you are grateful for. Show that self-gratitude. Show that self-compassion. Because the more you flex this habit, this practice, that you show up for yourself and are present in all these little mundane moments, you're going to be so much stronger. You can absolutely do this. I'm going to give you another big from Florida hug with love and support and camaraderie, because I know you can do this. I truly believe in you. You listening right now, thank you. I believe in you, even if you don't. If you are in need of supportive coaching for fasting as a lifestyle tool, I'm here. I can help, and I know you can do it. Please reach out. I've got my website calendar open and available with bookings at thefastingfocusedlifestyle.com. I want to thank, again, each and every one of you. I'll keep thanking everybody that listens to these episodes. I'm grateful for you. You are beautiful and worthy and deserving of a long, meaningful, healthy, happy life. And you can do it. Fasting can do that for you. Until next week, guys.
The Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast. Copyright 2022. The information given within this podcast is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult your doctor before starting any weight loss method. Thank you.
Fargo, the new virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can. In the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Terms and conditions apply. Your mobile carrier's availability and message and data rates may apply. Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.